Tonight's big stories. The lower house begins tackling Cha-Cha, with House Speaker Martin Romualdez promising they will only touch the economic provisions. President Marcos tells Senate to get a plebiscite done by the midterm elections next year.
At a rally in Cebu, former President Rodrigo Duterte says he supports Cha-Cha for as long as it doesn't favor those currently in power. His son, Mayor Baste Duterte, continued to lash out at President Marcos.
And in an exclusive interview on One News, former Senator Kiko Pangilinan says, hold your horses. He has not yet decided whether or not to run in next year's midterm elections.
Welcome to the show. I'm Regina.
I'm Gretchen po.
And I'm Shawn.
Lots of big news to kick off the week with. Yung headlines pa lang. But let's get started. The House of Representatives has convened as a committee of the whole to tackle charter change. Speaker Martin Romualdez presided over today's meeting along with other House leaders, and he took pains to assure the public that their mission is to amend the economic provisions and nothing more.
To dispel doubts that the efforts of the House of Representatives in pushing for the amendment of the economic provisions of the Constitution is politically motivated, we are actually adopting all the three proposed amendments of the Senate version of the resolution of both Houses, number 6, in total.
The lower house called a number of resource persons to this first hearing, including from the National Economic Development Authority, or NEDA, and the think tank IBON Foundation. NEDA Secretary Arsenio Balisacan threw his support behind the measure, pointing out that the Philippines has been overtaken by its ASEAN neighbors across a wide range of socio-economic indices.
Opening up public utilities to foreign investment will improve the quality and affordability of services, such as energy and water distribution, and offer viable options to address the financing gaps in the infrastructure sector. In the education sector, this initiative will ensure that Filipinos can access global knowledge, skills, and technology that can nurture in this era of globalization. Allowing foreign investment in mass media will also enable local media professionals to increase their global presence. More importantly, this will allow the industry to modernize, expand markets, and keep pace with international trends.
The Finance Department's chief economist, Undersecretary Zeno Abenoja, also spoke in support of the liberalization of certain sectors. But he said that we should stop short of allowing foreign ownership of land.
We would like to emphasize that the review could concentrate on certain economic aspects, including in the areas of public utilities, mass media, advertising, education, and mining, but could exclude land ownership liberalization. In line with this, the DOF proposes the outright deletion of foreign restrictions in the areas of educational institutions, mass media, and advertising.
Meanwhile, Senate President Juan Miguel Zubiri says President Marcos wants to hold a plebiscite on economic charter change alongside the 2025 elections. A plebiscite is essentially a public vote and would be one of the last steps to amending the Constitution.
Sinabi niya, mas gusto niya sabay na lang sa halalan ng 2025. So pagka ganun, hindi po tayo kailangan magmamadali. Hindi pa namin maitatapos itong March kasi we have only 3 weeks left. Ang dami pa namin iti-take up na mga mahalagang measures. But definitely continues ang hearing. But the plenary session, kasi mangyayari dyan, magkakaroon kami ng separate plenary sessions for that. Possibly when we get back na after the March break. Baka kaya namin matapos yung hearings as a body, as a Senate, not as a committee anymore. It will be taken up as by the Senate body, like a committee of the whole.
And as a body, we should point out that the Senate and the lower house, in fact, are supposed to be independent of the executive.
We have to remember that.
The basic principle of checks and balances.
Correct. But now it seems to be they might try to given to President Marcos's
Or at
request
least
to get it
work
done by
together.
next year.
All signs lead to exactly what you're saying. But here's some other points that Finance Undersecretary Abenoja said. He says the DOF also proposed the insertion of the phrase, unless otherwise provided by law, to the provisions on the public utilities under Article 12, Section 11, and nationality requirement for co-production, joint venture, or production sharing for the exploration, development, and utilization of natural resources, as in the case of mineral resources. This is under Article 12, Section 2, in order to give Congress flexibility to enact laws that would free up the economy to foreign investors. He says this proposal is a subtler approach compared to an outright deletion.
Well, lastly, we'd like to highlight that the challenges being encountered by country in attracting FDIs or foreign direct investments should not solely be attributed to the existing restrictive economic provisions, since other factors must also be considered, such as ease of doing business and good governance, to name a few.
That's according to Undersecretary Abenoja.
There are questions that arise, of course, sinasabi nga nila, does lowering restrictions lead to more investments, and do more investments mean development?
And does it trickle down to the
Yes,
average person?
exactly.
Will it trickle down? But of course, this being a democracy still, procedural issues remain a huge sticking point in terms of the cha-cha process, particularly as we've been pointing out in the past weeks, the manner of voting. Senate's RBH6 states that each house votes separately versus the House of Representatives RBH7. Take a listen to this exchange.
Any question to the creation of the Committee of the Whole should have been done during the time of its creation, or even assuming for the sake of argument that the lady voted with the majority in creating convening the committee as a whole, then she should have filed her motion for reconsideration last Tuesday or last Wednesday.
Wala naman din tayong pagkakataon ng last Monday ba or last week na magtanong ng procedural. Kaya wag niyo po akong i-technical. So, ito nga sinasabi natin, ano ba, 'di ba? Sabi nga ng speaker, Romualdez, lahat babagbibigyan ng pagkakataon na magsalita kung ano man yung gusto niyong sabihin dito sa plenary nito. And yet, gagawan niyo ako ng technicality. Sasabihin niyo sa akin na dapat nasabi na yan noon.
Kaya nga ho nagkakagulo eh. Palagi may tanong, do we meet jointly or no? Do we vote separately or jointly? Yun ang palagi nagiging issue, kaya nga ho wala mangyari sa pag-amend natin sa Constitution.
4 words separate the resolution of both houses, 6 and 7 by the Senate and the House, which is each house voting separately. At yun nga yung sinusulong sa People's Initiative.
But big
diba?
words,
But
actually.
like a big impact. Another thing to note, no, big welta of the day. COMELEC Chairman George Garcia, when asked today, so today, Monday, Feb 26, he said yes, kaya daw ng COMELEC to hold a plebiscite together with the 2025 midterm elections. Ang sabi niya, wala pong dagdag na gastos. And of course, as we are noting, that is a complete reversal from what he said, what he has been saying up until a few weeks ago. Nung Feb 7 lang, no, sabi niya na COMELEC cannot do it because it is a big election year.
Next year.
Next
We've
year.
got,
So kumbaga, hindi
midterm
daw
elections.
pwedeng isabay yung
Oo.
midterm sa
It will
plebiscite.
entail added costs, added logistics, but
Added
now he's
manpower.
saying that
It can be done at no added cost.
And I wonder how that can happen. Will they change the ballots? Will they include the plebiscite
On
in
the
there?
ballot?
Yeah,
Yes,
the question
that's
in there.
that's one
right?
proposal that I saw. They
Yeah.
would have the plebiscite question at the back or at the in front, tapos yung names of the
Kumbaga, the last
candidates
item.
at the back. So we'll see.
Okay, we'll see.
As mentioned, IBON Foundation was also present at that committee of the whole hearing to help us break down this issue. We have with us tonight IBON Foundation's Executive Director, Sonny Africa. Sonny, good evening. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Hi, Gretchen, Regina, Shawn.
Magandang
Say
gabi.
that alphabetically.
the whole afternoon, or at least in the time that you were given at today's hearing, you laid out a number of reasons why IBON Foundation does not believe charter change is necessary. What I wanted to ask you was, first of all, NEDA was also there. Secretary R.C. Balisacan himself is a very well-respected economist, and he has studied this. He has no doubt debated it with his team, and he has thrown his support behind it. He says opening up to foreign investors should improve the quality and affordability of services. Tell us why you're not buying into it.
I think we lost Sonny right there. We'll get back to him.
But yeah, but I mean, the stance of IBON Foundation has always been that constitutional change or amendments is not necessary for economic growth and for it, of course, to trickle down to the masses, to everybody. I think it's been pretty. I wanted to ask Sonny if anything that happened today actually changed his mind or his opinion on that.
It didn't seem like it. That's why I wanted to ask him, because my thing is that listening to both sides of the argument here, Secretary R.C. is of course a very well-known figure in the economic world and very
and maybe they had done their math already.
Yes, they see Yusek Abinoha did show some charts, some slides where they had crunched the numbers, and they said yes, relaxing foreign equity restrictions could generate additional foreign direct investment, which kinounter naman ni Sonny Africa of Ibon, not one by one, but their basic premise is that it has not translated to real development in the Philippines.
Yeah. Again, we keep talking about it on this couch in our living room. We keep talking about how a lot of sectors have already been liberalized by the Duterte administration, and we have not actually seen it. Kumbaga, the desired effect we were hoping for is not actually.
Well, technically, they're still new, right? Because some of them only kicked in
2022.
Yes,
during
Services
COVID.
Act. So you're not going to see gains just yet, because it takes a while for these things to happen.
So I guess maybe what we should be saying is that the other problems still remain that do not have to do with charter change, ease of doing business, etc., political stability. All these other issues. Do we have...
Of course, labor, wages, infrastructure, and all those things.
Speaking of labor and wages, mukhang may legislated wage hike, which we will be discussing a little bit later on. For now, I think we're going to pause for a quick break while we try to get Mr. Sonny Africa of the IBON Foundation back on. We will be back right after this. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. You're still watching the big story here on One News. In other news, pro-Duterte groups held a prayer rally on Sunday to protest the push for charter change. One of the co-conveners of the group that organized it told us here on the big story that this is the second installment of the anti-Chacha prayer rally that was first held in Davao. But unlike that first rally, softer ang tono ni former President Duterte sa event na ito. Walang banat against President Marcos this time around, but he did warn that it shouldn't be used, charter change shouldn't be used to extend the president's term. Let's hear him.
Ayaw pag-usba ang konstitusyon para mapabor kanimo nga muling kuray diha o ngaita pag-usa ka termino. Komportable na ta sa unom katuig one term. Let us stick to that. Wala pa yung problema kang presidente karon. Wala pa naman pod. Ako masuportar. Changes in the Constitution, economic provisions, whatever. Ako, okay lang. Si Marcos karon medyo maganda ang suportahan ko yung Chacha at I am comfortable supporting the President. Wala pa naman ako nakitang talagang yung big error, big mistake. Wala pa. Wala naman ako nakitang maybe yung sa baba. Pero sa kanya, wala akong nabalitaan. So I continue to support him.
Medyo malayo-layo yung tono ni former President Duterte doon, ano?
Yun yung
From
nakakamiss.
just last month.
Davao.
Oo, from just last
Yun yung
month.
nakakamiss kay President Duterte. You're always kept on your toes because you never really get a clear look at what goes on in his mind.
Well, we could predict that he would change his mind. He could change his mind.
Could.
Pero kung pumreno si former President Rodrigo Duterte, ang anak naman niyang si Mayor Baste, manghang pa rin ang mga binitawang salita laban sa Marcos administration. He said some politicians are using charter change to stay in power.
Isog lang ka kay speaker ka karon, speaker lang ka kay tungod ang igagaw ni mo presidente mauna.
Well, Mayor Baste also called Marcos's promise of a 20 peso a kilo rice a scam, despite organizers saying earlier that the prayer rally is only an anti-Chacha rally and not anti-Marcos.
Kabalo mo unsay pinakakatawanan aning tanan. Ibakak nimo ng tag 20 nga bugas. Diha kasayop scam tawag ana.
Ayun, medyo matapang si Baste Duterte.
Saka binanggit din niya talaga si Speaker Romualdez this time around. Pero natawa ko kasi nung lumalabas tong mga statements niya, I was on social media, may nakita akong meme na si President Marcos daw nag-promise ng 20 pesos per kilo rice. Pero marami daw nakakalimot na at some point, isa sa mga bukong bibig ni President Duterte, former President Duterte, 7 pesos a kilo rice. Tapos
70 pesos!
Oo, pero that,
Are you sure he
Anong
wasn't
year
joking
to?
then?
we're never sure if he's joking or not. That's the
true.
thing.
In any case, Malacanang has not issued a response to what the Dutertes have said over the weekend. Neither have we gotten a response from the Speaker's
Ang tanong ko,
office.
anong prayer? Dinasal nila.
Nag-pray sila at the start. They
Prayer.
did pray at the start. Tapos, and then it became other things.
Became other things. Naglabas na nga ng maanghang na medyo blind item na memo, CBILG Secretary Benhur Abalos na a reminder to everyone na let's remember naman sa tamang lugar, tamang pwesto, and the people look up to us, that whole
But
shebang.
I will also point out that he served as MMDA czar, chief, under President
Yes.
Duterte. So, yeah.
Pabago-bago, di ba?
Pero
Winds
bakit
of
nga ba
change.
nagkaroon ng prayer rally ulit? Kasi nga, it is in honor of the EDSA anniversary, di ba, no Sunday? Yun naman talaga yung dahilan. Pero kasabay nung prayer rally, umaten si Speaker sa iba't ibang
Bagong
Pilipinas
Caravan.
Bagong Pilipinas Caravan sa Sultan Kudarat kahapon. At doon, Namigay siya ng mga bigas and also took the opportunity to respond to the criticism.
Patuloy tayong iikot at maghahatid ng tulong hanggang sa mas marating natin ang bawat sulok ng Pilipinas. Hindi tayo titigil kahit anumang pambabatikos at paninira ang ibato sa atin. Ipinangako ko po, itong bagong Filipino Servisyo Fair ay mananatiling nakatutok at paglalapit ng serbisyo at ayuda sa bawat Pilipino.
Let's go back to Congress's Committee of the Whole hearing on charter change this afternoon. We have again on the line IBON Foundation's Executive Director, Sonny Africa, joining us over phone patch now. Sonny, can you hear me now?
Yes, I'm so sorry about that. I'm not going to name my telco provider.
We shan't. Let's get down to business. I don't know if you heard my question, but just very briefly, I said I know where your group stands. You are against charter change, but you also heard NEDA Secretary Arsenio Balisacan this afternoon talking about why we need to do it and how it would improve the quality and affordability of services. I will point out our Secretary RC is, of course, a very well-respected economist himself. Why are you not buying it?
Our bottom line is actually there are a lot of assumptions about the foreign direct investment that aren't really correct. First, it's not true that the Philippines is one of the most closed in the region. If you look at not just the Constitution, but also other operative laws, the Philippines actually has among the least restrictive economies in the region. If there's a comment about the inefficiency of services like internet, I'm not going to name the two companies that I've tried using tonight, but other countries actually have investment restrictions. Indonesia's 49% closed, Malaysia's 39 to 49%, Vietnam is 49 to 51, even Indonesia is about 49 to 67%. So I think it's barking up the wrong tree to say that it's the lack of foreign investment that's the problem, for instance, in terms of telecommunications. And this is actually a big problem for us. A wrong assumption to think that if foreign investment comes in, we're going to develop that sector where it comes in. And our favorite example there is manufacturing is 100% open to foreign investment, but manufacturing last year has fallen to its smallest share of the economy in 75 years. It's actually smaller than it was in 1949. So I think that uncritical acceptance that foreign investment comes in, it's going to help the economy, take out the restrictions, foreign investment is going to come in. Actually, each step of those arguments, we presented facts in the Senate a couple of weeks ago and in Congress today. They're simply not true. They're repeated so often, people think it's common sense, but it's like a flat earther, it's common sense. When faced with the facts, I think you have to adjust what seems common sense.
Okay. We have faced some setbacks in the past years with foreign companies setting up shop here in the Philippines. Meron po mga kumpanya na lumilipat na sa Vietnam, sa Thailand. What do you think is causing this? And will amendments to the three provisions, articles, somehow help us to retain the investments that we currently have? I mean, just trying to zero in on what this could bring us.
Actually, that's one of the things we want to correct. Just because may foreign investors dito doesn't mean the country is developing. Kumbaga, kung gagawin na tayong address ng sikat na kumpanya, aalis na yan kung may pakinabang siya na pumunta sa Vietnam or sa Malaysia. So sa amin, a good example there is Intel. Intel, their second overseas plant was in the Philippines in 1974. They were here for 35 years. They invested over $1.5 billion. At some point, they were giving exports of about $5 billion a year. They created 2,000 jobs. So they ticked all the boxes of what was a foreign investment. But when Intel left in 2009, they left nothing in the Philippines. The jobs were gone, the factories were gone, there was no Filipino capacity in any aspect of electronics. And for us, it's a wrong metric to think that just because a big foreign firm is using the Philippines as an address, that it's Filipino and it's helping the Philippine economy. They're here, but when it suits them, like the countries that corporations that have left, they will leave. And our bottom line is the real measure of development from foreign investment is what is the kind of sustainable long-term industrial development they leave behind. If they don't leave anything behind, they're good while they're here, but it's very shallow and not to be the kind of development we need.
Right. You are, of course, heavily quoted on your push for industrialization of the Philippines. Do you not feel, Sonny, that maybe these economists have a point, that maybe if we do let in foreign investors, then that could help our industrialization push?
Actually, the biggest part of foreign investment ever since the 1960s has been to manufacturing. Right now, there's at least $17 billion in foreign manufacturing investment in the country. But again, I have to go back to the data from the PSA. Manufacturing has fallen to its smallest share of the economy in 75 years. Despite 100% foreign ownership, despite the biggest part of foreign investment coming to the manufacturing sector. And actually, I think that's a very, very important case in point, because right now, the majority of manufacturing reported in the Philippines is not even Filipino, depending on whose data set you look at, the PSA or the World Bank or maybe the Business World top 1,000 corporations. Anywhere from 55 to as much as 75% of manufacturing that they face in the Philippines is not actually even Filipino. So they're low value added, they're not actually integrated in the domestic economy. They're probably like export enclaves, benefiting from all the perks and incentives given them. But then, they're not here to develop the Philippines. They're here to make a profit. If they see a profit elsewhere, they will leave. They will drop the Philippines like a hot potato. And there's a clear point. It's not that we lack foreign investment. That's why we're underdeveloped. It's because we lack an industrial policy to make sure we get long-term benefits from foreign investment. And, if you look at the experience of Intel, Hanjin, even Chevron and Texaco in Malampaya, they're making their profits from us, but they're not actually leaving anything behind. It's not their fault. It's the government's fault, I think. It's the lack of industrial policy.
So earlier today, there was absolutely no talk on exactly what you were saying for these foreign investors to be required to perhaps leave something, a little bit something for Filipinos and for the Philippines having located here, etc., etc. There was no talk of that.
Not yet. The biggest talk was procedural. I think my impression was the House was getting a bit of support from CJ Puno. When CJ Puno said RBH7, that burnout formula, that's constitutionally dubious. I think they're quite happy with that. I mean, they didn't show it, but I could see in their body language, okay, maybe the RBH6 process is not the way to go.
Sonny, but there's also something to be said about the taxes that they pay, right? And the fact that they did create jobs in the time that they were here. But anyways, leave that aside for a second. I wanted to flesh out one other thing you said. I feel like every time we compare ourselves to other countries, we always miss important nuances. So I did a bit of research and wanted to show you this chart. If we compare Vietnam to the Philippines, and you keep bringing up manufacturing, Vietnam has overtaken us in manufacturing. They have three things going for them, right? They have low labor costs. They have invested heavily in education. So if you compare their PISA ranking, as of last tally, which is 2022 results, they were 31st out of 81 countries, and we were very near the bottom. And then also check out the minimum wage as well. There's a huge difference in daily minimum wage. That's according to the Employers Confederation of the Philippines. My point about all of this is we are already behind on all of these metrics. Therefore, in order to compete, shouldn't we then be doing something different, i.e. relaxing equity restrictions?
Yeah, I think Vietnam is a good case in point. The metric for development is not actually their foreign investment. The metric for development is exactly what you mentioned. Vietnam right now is about 25% manufacturing share of GDP. That's just behind Thailand and Myanmar. It's the third highest in the region. And that's exactly what we should be looking at. Not the amount of foreign investment that comes in, but what contributions does that foreign investment make for making the Philippines an industrial power. So that's exactly where we want the question should be asked. Not do everything to bring foreign investment in. Because if you give everything to foreign investment, they're here for a profit. That's not good or bad. You give them an inch, they'll take a mile. I think that's not about them being an angel or a demon. They're here to make a profit. But it's a government responsibility. If they let foreign investment in, there should be real technology transfer, not just lip service. There should be real reinvestment in the local economy. It should be support to local manufacturers, maybe as sources of input. And Vietnam is a good example because a lot of people say that, oh, look, Vietnam has opened up. Actually, right now, Vietnam is much more close than the Philippines. And one probably big example of why Vietnam is so attract the foreign investors is because the generation distribution is not just close to foreign investors, it's close to the private sector. It's state-owned distribution and transmission. So for us, the whole point is it's not about attracting foreign investment. It's about making sure you build manufacturing, exactly like the point you made. And the Philippines right now, we're the second worst manufacturing in Asia, in Southeast Asia.
And make sure at the end of the day, it really trickles down, as we said, to real development of our economy, of the lives of Filipinos.
Some interesting points there. We're going to have to leave it there for now. Thanks so much for joining us. IBON Foundation Executive Director, Sonny, Africa.
Okay, going back to our other top story. Aside from that prayer rally against Chacha that happened in Cebu yesterday, Sunday, there were also rallies held here in Metro Manila to commemorate the 38th anniversary of the People Power Revolution. So, maraming groups, no? Sa EDSA 1, which happens at the corner of Ortigas and EDSA at the People Power Monument, in front of the EDSA Shrine. They were also protesting Chacha moves in Congress and, of course, remembering the 4-day peaceful revolution that toppled the late dictator Ferdinand Marcos Sr., father of our incumbent president, PBBM. Now, as you know, the People Power Anniversary was not declared a holiday this year by President Marcos Jr., and the palace did not even release any official statement to commemorate the event. The president, though, did release a vlog entry yesterday, reminding Filipinos to learn from history at maging mapanuri rin daw sa fake news.
Your interest in history is very, very, very important because we have much to learn from history. And the history that has been made a long, long time ago and the history that's being made now, all of this is important. Magbasa ka ng kahit na ano at ikaw nang bahala na mangilatis kung ano yung maganda at ano yung hindi tama. That's what history can guide us with because we have experienced this before.
Siyempre, ito nga yung isa sa mga binabantayan ng mga tao.
Medyo vague nga yung reference niya to history.
Yes.
And Reg pointed out while that soundbite was playing, wow, binanggit niya yung fake news.
Interesting time.
Interesting time.
To be mentioning
Well,
fake
there was
news.
no mention of the EDSA People Power in that vlog, but as we know, there have been accusations of historical revisionism of the Marcos administration with the Marcos dictatorship at binabantayan pati yung textbooks ng mga bata.
That was an issue several months back.
Kung tatanggalin. Kasi pinatatanggal daw yung terminong Marcos mula sa diktadurang Marcos.
At hindi nga lang naglabas ng official statement ang Pangulo on EDSA, pero may statement daw si VP Sara. Ang sabi niya, on this day, we commemorate the brave souls who stood united on the streets of EDSA, fighting for democracy and freedom. As we celebrate this momentous occasion, let us remember the lessons of EDSA, the power of unity, the strength of the Filipino spirit, and the importance of standing up for what is right. She also added to that message, Happy EDSA anniversary to all Filipinos. May we continue to uphold the spirit of EDSA in all that we do. But after that statement was posted, it was deleted by the office also of the Vice President. Ang sabi ng OVP sa isang Viber message to the media, eto na. The post was removed because it was not approved by VP Sara Duterte. There was a system error in the social media team. But by then, too late, na-pick up na ng mga screenshots ng news outlets. Ang storya, na-publish na siya dito sa atin sa One News, sa TV5, sa GMA, sa Manila Bulletin, at Interaksyon, at marami pang iba. Netizens were very quick to unearth a 2017 post on
resibo.
Nako, receipts are eternal. So this post from 2017 made by Sara Duterte, then Davao City Mayor, nung term nung ni President Rodrigo Duterte. Ito yung sabi ng post ni VP Sara. I find it hard to understand why this bloodless revolution has become the standard definition of freedom for our country. And this standard is forced down our throats by a certain group of individuals who think they are better than everyone else. Okay, a moment of silence to observe.
Okay.
Hindi, ano kaya yung system error
Social
na nangyari?
media system error. We're
May nagkamali.
gonna have to leave that there.
Yes, putting that side by side. Bahala na kayo to judge. But on the other hand, with another party in the world of politics, still in the process of discernment. That was what former Senator Kiko Pangilinan said when asked about the earlier reports of him being one of Liberal Party's potential bets for the 2025 midterm polls. Speaking exclusively to 1PH sa totoo lang, Pangilinan clarified that he has not made a final decision yet as to whether he's going to run for senator in next year's elections. It was Liberal Party spokesperson Laila de Lima who said that former Senators Pangilinan and Bam Aquino, as well as human rights lawyer Shawn were on their initial senatorial lineup. Let's hear from him.
We clarified that with Senator Laila, no? Ang sa atin, we haven't really decided with finality. We are weighing it. No? Pinag-aaralan natin ng husto. It is an option. Right now, sa polling kasi tayo ang consistently isa sa pinakamataas. No? We're in the top 12 consistently. Minsan bumababa ng 13, but yun. So talagang pinag-aaralan natin ng husto. We haven't made a final decision. We are weighing it carefully. It is an option that we are seriously considering.
I wonder what the side of Bam Aquino is and Shell Jokno kung tatakbo rin
We'll try to get that.
Baka na-excite siya, former Senator Laila de Lima.
Pero again, as early as now, it will send again confusing signs kasi pati ako parang, oh wait, so hindi pa pala sure. So now
He's still weighing his options.
Yes, and now it makes me question kung sure na ba talaga yung other two na supposedly sure along with former Senator Kiko. And while we absorb that during this commercial break, please stay tuned because when we return, just how feasible is the 350 peso wage increase being pushed for in the lower house? We'll get some insights on that from Joey Concepcion, Private Sector Advisory Council Head for Jobs. When the big story returns, stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching The Big Story here on One News.
One other thing that both chambers of Congress is now seemingly on the same page on is the legislated wage hike. In fact, some members of the lower house are now suggesting a bigger amount, 350 pesos a day, much more than the 100 pesos that the Senate passed. In a statement, House Majority Leader Manix Dalipa said, quote, "Our workers are enduring tough times, and as their representatives, it's imperative that we find substantial solutions to alleviate their financial burdens." Dalipa said Speaker Martin Romualdez has tasked the House leadership to identify effective methods to enhance workers' take-home pay, including a legislated wage hike or revisions to the regional wage board mechanism. But there's also opposition in the chamber, most notably from the economists there. Albay Representative Joey Salceda has warned that an across-the-board wage hike will hurt the small and medium enterprises, while Marikina Representative Stella Kimbo says it could become inflationary.
To give us a better sense of how the business community is taking this, we are joined tonight via Zoom by Joey Concepcion. He is the Private Sector Advisory Council Head for Jobs and founder of Go-Negosyo. Joey, good evening. Thank you for making time for us tonight.
Good evening.
All right. So, what are your thoughts on the legislated wage hike, on actually having to legislate a wage hike and having it as it stands now, somewhere between 100 and 350 pesos?
Yeah, I guess we all want to, improve the lives of our employees. No? And but if you look at it, what is really important is that the economy has to continue to grow. And as the economy grows, of course, more jobs are generated. No? So when more jobs are generated than the supply, then wages will just increase naturally. I'm not against mandating wages, no, and that has been done through the years. No? If you look at it during PGMA's time, 154 pesos was given, but that was over 9 increases. No? During the time of President Aquino, 87 pesos was given, but that was over 6 increases. No? And during Duterte's time, he gave 79 pesos, and that was over 3 increases. And currently, President Marcos has given 40 pesos as an increase. No? So I don't think business is against giving, wage increases, but I think we have to be careful when we do it, no? Because especially our micro, small enterprises, these comprise basically 99% of the entire negosyo community. Of course, they're very small, micro and small, and now we have what we call nano entrepreneurs. These people definitely cannot afford this kind of wage increase because they're basically survival entrepreneurs, and we at Go-Negosyo, we're trying to help them move up to become micro to small, and eventually some of them will be lucky enough to become medium enterprises. No? So what's important is job generation. Wage increase will follow. And if we look at large corporations today, we have industrial peace. We have our collective bargaining agreements. And compared to previous years, I mean, you could see in the newspaper, you would see strikes every day being published in the newspaper. But over the last 2-3 years, you don't see any of this. We have definitely industrial peace. It means that if there are less strikes or no strikes, it means the workers, the employees and the employers are in agreement of whatever increases that they are negotiating over the table. So this is my view. I believe minimum wage should be increased, but let's do it in a staggered basis.
Ang sabi po ng IBON Foundation is there will be a 6 to 7% profit cut, but this will spur economic growth. I mean, taking a look at the figure of the Senate, 100 pesos, ang Congress naman 350. Don't you think this will be good for the economy, giving more spending power to the families of the minimum wage earners?
I don't think it, I mean, of course, if you give them more money, they will spend it. But there's a risk of that, no? Will the micro afford it? Definitely not. Hopefully, Congress would exempt them from the minimum wage. But the small and medium enterprises definitely will be affected because they don't have as much working capital and maybe as fast growth as larger companies and even the conglomerates. No, I mean we can weather all of that. So what I'm saying here is that definitely using wages to spur economic power is a tricky situation. No? You can't just give wages, and eventually those companies will not be able to survive. And when they can't survive, they close shop. You will, rather than increasing jobs, you will have less jobs because many of these smaller companies may fold up.
Joey, you are Private Sector Advisory Council head for jobs, but also represent Go Negosyo, and you talk to a lot of businessmen on a daily basis. I'm just wondering, give us a better sense of what the business community is saying, because I know you're very in tune with them. Is everyone against this legislated wage hike, or some are willing to shoulder it?
Quite a number of people are against the wage hike. No? I mean, especially the smaller ones, even in the larger companies, because we do give wages. No? I mean, we've increased our wages to our employees because of our CBAs. And as I was saying earlier, I mean, both parties are happy. No? You don't see any strike. If you don't have industrial peace, and there is a problem there. In other words, your employees are not happy. So it's a different story now. I think we're all conscious on really trying to have an increase in consumer spending, but that can be done by hiring more people. No, so it's not a matter of just I give more, increase my salary of my employees, then they'll spend more. Maybe they might not spend, but the whole goal is to increase jobs. So to get foreign investors to invest in the Philippines, set up their plants here. AI is coming in very strong, so that's an area that we have to be careful because that might disrupt a number of jobs. So we really have to upskill our people. No? Yeah. If they want to get better pay, they have to upskill themselves. Now that's a basic point. No, I mean you if you're let's say a janitor and you want to get a better pay, then you have to upskill yourself. I mean, today you've got different platforms like Angkas and Grab and all of that. They can be nano entrepreneurs and learn how to drive a motorcycle or a car, and they'll get a much better pay than being a janitor. No? So there are many avenues today provided by the digital platforms, influencers for that matter. Many of you are here in this are influencers. Many are making good money out of it because there has been a transformation in the advertising sector. No? Many companies like ourselves have stopped advertising in traditional media. We've shifted to digital, basically platforms, and that is creating so much job generation or entrepreneurship. People putting up their own content and becoming influencers and making so much money.
Yeah, actually, that was going to be my next question, but we're running out of time. Very quickly, House says legislated wage hike after they change the charter, after they amend the Constitution. So open it up to foreign investments first, and then legislated wage hike of up to 350 pesos a day for minimum wage earners. Yes or no?
I think they have to be careful with the 350 peso wage. That's I think nobody in history has given 350 pesos at one go. So that's going to shake down a lot of people. I would be careful in doing that. Yes, you may make the employees happy, but a lot of companies may close shop, and if they close shop, then your economy goes down. Job generation is jobs will grow if the economy grows. If it doesn't grow, jobs is not going to grow.
All right, on that note, we will thank you for joining us tonight and leave it there. Private Sector Advisory Council Head for Jobs and Go Negosyo founder, Joey Concepcion. Thanks for your time.
It's basic economic tenets. There's always a trade-off, right? You can't have it both ways. So, on the one hand, you want to keep the workers happy and keep up with inflation, but on the other hand,
I like the argument na laging nakakalimutan yung informal sector.
Tama.
So even if ma-legislate to, mabigay yung 350,
hindi naman
wala
4 million workers are minimum wage earners. So 99% MSMEs, so that takes up a bigger portion of the pie.
But with the House proposal, they're pointing out this is part of an umbrella of reforms. Number one is charter change, and then they're
That's
talking
what
about legislative
Representative
wage hike.
Janet Garin was telling us.
Yes.
Diba? If you let in foreign investments, then we would be able to afford the 350 wage hike. But
Pero
it
iniisip
seems-
ko kasi kung tama yung timing is important kasi it could discourage
Yeah.
also foreign investments from coming in.
That's right. I mean, comparing us to Vietnam, we're already higher in terms of labor costs, right? And their power costs are cheaper. So I mean, as an investor, why would you
And
choose
if you
to
see
leave
that
Vietnam?
like out of the blue, they can legislate a wage hike.
But
That's
Vietnam
kind of scary.
No.
has a higher minimum wage for their workers, but maybe probably offset by the power costs.
Yeah. No, they have lower.
Minimum.
Philippines
Lower
is
labor
more
costs.
Philippines is more expensive in labor costs, in daily labor costs. So,
So
that's why we're less. Actually, if I remember correctly, we're just below Indonesia. We're pretty high up. So.
Okay, lots of food for thought, lots of things to do, and lots of balancing acts. But it's only a Monday night.
We have the rest of the week.
Have the rest of the week
to cover.
To read up on economics,
Yes.
do the math.
Brush up on the basics. But that's it for the big story on this Monday.
We're One News, all sides, all the time.
Thanks for tuning in. Have a good night.